Good morning, students. Welcome to the series of lectures of literary terms. This is the fifth lecture in the series of literary terms. So, without wasting time, let's start. The first and foremost literary term today we will discuss is agglutinative. This has been taken from Latin, which means glued to. In a now outdated linguistic classification, an agglutinative language was any language with complicated but for the most part regular derivational forms, especially those based on single syllable morphemes. This term or classification first appeared in 1836 in the linguistic theories of William von Humboldt. So, the term first appeared in 1836 in the linguistic theories of Wilhelm von Humboldt. Agglutinative languages were thought to include Turkish, Basque, Hungarian, and many Tibeto-Burman languages. So, Turkish, Basque, Hungarian, and many Tibeto-Burman languages are included in this agglutinative languages family. These were originally thought to be more advanced or developed than isolating languages like Chinese, into which every word was formed by distinct monosyllables, or on the other hand, agglutinative languages were thought to be more primitive than incorporative or inflective languages such as Eskimo and Latin, respectively. Incorporative, Eskimo, and inflective language, Latin, respectively. Modern historical linguistic and anthropological findings have already largely demolished the earlier arguments. The primary problem is that this classification depends upon the assumption that primitive languages tend to be formed from monosyllables, and advanced languages were thought to become gradually polysyllabic. However, many languages like Chinese may have grown to more monosyllabic over a process of thousands of years. For instance, disapproving this idea, it is now clear that languages can actually grow simpler over time rather than growing more complicated. Agrarian idealism. The conviction that farming is an especially virtuous occupation in comparison with trade, craftsmanship, manufacturing, and other means of commerce. Romans like Hesiod and Virgil, for instance, praised the simple, hard-working ethics of the Roman farmer. Jefferson dreamed of a future America composed primarily of gentlemen farmers who lived off the fruits of their plantations without the need for outside trade in his quarries. The agrarian ideal manifested equally strong in romantic writings as one form of the American dream motif. Agreement. Having different parts of a sentence agree with each other in grammatical number, present case, mode, or tense. In British grammar books, agreement is also called concord. So this is related to the sentence structure. Having different parts of a sentence agree with each other in grammatical numbers, gender, case, mood, or tense. In British grammar books, agreement is also called concord. Added, plural, addenda. A tale in prose or mixed prose and poetry interprets a hero, a poet, or a ruler suffers a violent death. So this is a mixed prose and poetry interprets a hero or ruler suffers a violent death, often occurring at liminal time or places such as this Samia festival or at the otherworldly banquet hall. Frequently, the ending follows the motif of the threefold death. According to Dan Willis' article in Medieval Ireland, an encyclopedia, some 35 such tales explicitly labeled Ereda survive from Old or Middle Irish between 650 to 1250 CE. Eidos, the Greek term for the great shame felt by a hero after failure. So, this is a term for the great shame felt by a hero after failure. Aisling, Irish Gaelic, dream vision pronounced Aisling, a genre of Irish political poetry popular in the 1600s and 1700s, in which a Sparibhian appears who mourns the recent downfall and status of Ireland and predicts a coming return to the future, often linked with return of a Stuart ruler to the throne of Britain. In later centuries, the form often became used satirically or jokingly. The most famous example of a Aisling poetry is Roisin Dove, and the earliest major Aisling poet was Aodhegan o Ratheli, often called the father of Aisling. Hadogant o Rathel. Akedah. Akedah is a section of Genesis including Genesis 22 1 to 19 of foundational importance in the three uh, Abrahamic traditions of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Elajon, a stock character in Greek drama. The Elajon is a stupid braggart who is easily tricked by the clever Iron, who tells the Elajon what he wants to hear. Alba, Provincial Down, a medieval lyric or morning serenade about the coming of dawn. The Alba's referent typically ends with the word down. The theme can be religious, but more frequently the theme focuses on two lovers parting with the coming of day. Cross reference, the more common term used in English, the closely related Obadi, Alcaix. A stanza written in Alcaix is written in the meter created by the Greek poet Alcaeus. A stanza written in alcaics is written in the meter created by the Greek poet Alcaeus. This stanza form was later used with slight changes by the poet Horace. An example in English appears in Tennyson's imitation as appears below. O mighty mouthed inventor of harmonies! O mighty mouthed inventor of harmonies! O skilled to sing of time or eternity! God gifted organ voice of England! Milton, a name to resound for ages. So let me repeat, alcaics, a stanza written in alcaics and written in the meter created by a Greek poet Alcaeus. This stanza form was later used with slight changes by the poet Horace. An English appears in Tennyson's imitation as appears below. O mighty mouthed inventor of harmonies, O skilled to sing of time or eternity! God gifted organ voice of England, Milton, a name to resound for ages. Alchemy, the medieval or Renaissance precursor to modern chemistry, characterized by mystical philosophy and attempts to turn base metals such as lead and tin into noble metals such as gold and silver. The tenets of alchemy were based on the theory of four elements, in which all matter was composed of varying proportions of four substances: air, earth, water, and fire. Hawa, Prithvi, Pani, or Ag. Each element had a corresponding type of spirit associated with it: sulfurs, gnomes, undines, and salamanders. Sulfurs, gnomes, undines, and salamanders. While alchemical beliefs were taken seriously as a matter of pseudo-scientific inquiry in early centuries, by the end of the medieval period, the practice was often synonymous with chicanery and artistry. Chaucer's canon Yeoman's Tale focuses on the deception of false alchemical practitioners, and Shakespeare's The Tempest borrows heavily from alchemical lore in its depiction of the island's magical spirits. In later, more enlightened times, alchemical beliefs became a subject of mockery. Alexander Pope's mock epic, The Rape of the Lock, employs the traditional alchemical spirits but alters their purpose so that their primary duties involve protecting young girls' virginity from the advances of handsome rakes. For instance, next, four elements in medieval alchemy: fire, hot and dry; earth, cold and dry; water, cold and wet; air, warm and wet. These states